Hello dear students. So in continuation with the study of the cell, another important component of the cell is the nucleus. So what is the nucleus? As we know, nucleus is the main control center of the cell, right? So the center or the part of the cell which controls all the functions of the cell is the nucleus. You can say as to a body there is brain, for the cell there is nucleus. As in a body, all the functions, all our activities, they are controlled by the brain. So here in the cell, all these functions are controlled by the nucleus. So if you look at the structure of nucleus, so this nucleus is having a double layered membrane. It is a membrane bound part having double layered, and this membrane is known as nuclear membrane. So outermost covering, two layered covering of the cell is known as, this covering is known as nuclear membrane, right? This nuclear membrane is not continuous. It has got some pores between them, right? So there are some pores here between this nuclear membrane, and these pores are known as nuclear pores. And then there is the jelly-like material inside the nucleus, and this material is known as what? It is known as nucleoplasm. In this nucleoplasm, at the center, there is a dark colored part, and that dark colored part of the nucleus is known as nucleolus. And then there is entangled thread-like structure present in the nucleus, and this entangled thread-like structure is known as chromatin material. Right? And if you look at the nuclear membrane, this nuclear membrane on the outside is rough due to attachment of ribosomes on its surface. So here you can see either the outer part of nuclear membrane is associated with ribosomes, or sometimes the same nuclear membrane from external part is associated with the continuous tubules-like structures, and these tubule-like structures are what? That is endoplasmic reticulum. So in this way, that is the whole structure of the nucleus. You can see it is surrounded by the double layered membrane known as nuclear membrane. In between the nuclear membrane, there are some pores, and these pores are known as nuclear pores. These nuclear pores, they allow the exchange of material between the cytoplasm and nucleoplasm, right? And then there is a dark colored center, and that is known as nucleolus. If you see, this nucleolus is well identifiable or well visible only when cell is not going to divide. At the time of cell division, this nucleolus, that disappears because all that material gets mixed up. Then in the nucleus, there is entangled thread-like structure, and that entangled thread-like structure is known as chromatin material or chromatin fibers. So on the basis of presence of cells of nucleus, the cells can be classified into two categories. You can have prokaryotic cells and you can have eukaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cell means where nucleus is not surrounded by the membrane. So that type of cells are known as prokaryotic cells. For example, some bacteria, they are prokaryotic. On the other hand, if you talk about eukaryotic, in eukaryotic cells, the nucleus is surrounded by nuclear membrane. So you can say in prokaryotes the nuclear region is not well distinguished due to absence of the nuclear membrane, and in such case this poorly defined nuclear region of prokaryotic cell is known as nucleoid, right? But in case of eukaryotic cell, this nuclear region is very well defined as it is surrounded by the two-layered nuclear membrane. So if we look at the functions of the nucleus, so as you can see here, there are various parts that perform various functions. First of all, we have seen nuclear membrane which separates it from the surroundings. Other than that, there are ribosomes. And what is the function of ribosomes? Ribosomes help in protein synthesis. The cell and the body of every organism requires various kinds of proteins for the growth and development of the body, and these proteins are provided by or produced by the RNA, that is ribosomes, and ribosomes, they contain RNA and that help in synthesis of proteins, right? And you have seen here there is nucleolus. So nucleolus, as I said, it is visible only at the when the cell is not dividing, and it contains DNA, RNA and ribosomes, and of course some enzymes. And if you look at the function of all, they all together perform the process of photosynthesis, right? They all together help in the process of protein synthesis. So if we look at DNA, DNA is what? DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, which is the, you can say, genetic material or hereditary material also. And there is RNA. RNA stands for ribonucleic acid. So DNA gives the command regarding the protein synthesis, and based on the commands of DNA, RNA collects the required raw material, and then ribosomes, they use that raw material and they synthesize the protein which are needed for the growth and development of an organism, right? Other than that, you have seen in the cell there is chromatin material or chromatin fiber. So this chromatin material or chromatin fiber is again made up of DNA. And as I have already told you, okay, what is DNA? DNA is the genetic material which carries information regarding the hereditary characters. You see that every offspring that resemble to their parents in one way or another, and this resemblance is due to the messages or informations that are brought by the DNA. So you can say DNA are the carriers of hereditary informations from one generation to another. So in the normal condition, this chromatin fiber is in the form of entangled structure, but at the time of cell division, this chromatin material, it arranges itself in this kind of rod-like structures in the nucleus, and now these rod-like structures are known as chromosomes, right? So at the time of cell division, these DNAs or chromatin material that rearrange to form a long rod-like structures, and these rod-like structures are known as chromosomes. And if you look at the function of chromosomes again, via DNA, the chromosomes carry information from one generation to another. And in every chromosome, there is an active center, and that active center is known as gene. You must have very commonly heard the term genes. Genes means the component or the part of the cell which is responsible for deciding the characteristics or features of an organism. And they decide those features or those characteristics that we inherit from our parents, right? So genes are what? Genes are the messengers of hereditary information from one generation to another. Or in other words, you can say gene is what? Gene is a functional segment of DNA. That is the function of gene, right? So that is all about a structure of nucleus. And now if we look at the functions of the nucleus, so if we look at the functions of nucleus, first of all, as I have already told you, it controls all the activities of the cell. Any process occurring in the cell are controlled by the genes, by the nucleus. Another one is it helps, or you can say it plays a very important role in cell division. You can say every cell division process is initiated by nucleus. What is cell division? Cell division is a process in which cells divide to form new cells of their own type. And why this process is required? The cell division is necessary for the growth and development of the organism, as well as to replace the old and dead and worn out cells so that the new cells are being formed. So that process of cell division is also initiated or controlled by the nucleus, right? It also helps in transfer of hereditary informations from one generation to another. So transfers hereditary information from one generation to other. Another important feature or function of the nucleus is that it decides the shape and the structure and function of the newly formed cells. The shape, structure and function of newly formed cell which is formed after cell division. As you have seen that in multicellular organisms, as the complexity of body structure increases, the type of cells in the body also increases. So because of that types, these cells are having different shapes, different structures and different functions, as we have already seen. So once the cells that are formed after cell division, they all are looking almost identical, but their specific shape, structure and function, what will be the fate of the cell, is decided by the nucleus, right? And also, as nucleus contains ribosomes, it also helps in the process of protein synthesis, right? So these all are the functions of the nucleus that are found in case of any cell. Clear? So that is all about the nucleus, and the remaining cell organelles and their structure and functions that we will be discussing in our next lecture. Goodbye till then. Have a nice time.